Hey everybody, Jay Young here. Welcome to the Jay Young Show. I think everybody's really fun today. We're gonna see some really great people. Have a great interview that we did before with David Feherty, a good friend of mine. And but first off, let's welcome Jordan. Jordan, welcome to the show today.
Hello.
Looking nice. I guess Houston's treating you well.
Oh yeah, you maybe we'll see fall eventually, but right now summer's just holding on strong. How's Dallas?
Oh my goodness, yeah, the humidity in Houston seems to stick around a little bit longer, but Dallas is pretty nice. It's pretty nice, so it's good. But anyway, we're talking about David Feherty today. I want the first. Some of you are listening to this for the first time, and I want you to know what we have in store for you. We have David Feherty, who is he's a retired golfer, and some people don't know that about him because he's so funny. He's incredibly funny and just a riot. And we're going to talk about him. I interviewed him a few months ago, and it was all about his addiction, to alcohol. He had a really bad addiction to alcohol. I'm 30 years sober, so I know what addiction's all about. I understand how to not drink, or how to drink, or how to get really good at it, or how to, on this side of it, not do it anymore. And David overcame it, has an incredible story about it. And I want everybody to listen to that again, for you that have listened to it before. But we have David Feherty. We have some oil and gas news, and then I'm going to bring in three special guests later on to talk about the Jays Weekly Five. And you may ask yourself, what is the Weekly Five? Well, that's a good question. It's I always do a word of the week. I do a Bible verse of the week based on the word. We talk about a favorite book that you're reading. We talk about what you're listening to in a podcast, and also, what are you watching? Is there anything in particular you're watching? Like mine's about the Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Gambler, as Jerry Jones likes to call himself. And I finished up that series. That's something I'm watching. That's something we'll talk about. So I'm going to bring in three. We're going to have five people in that, pretty soon. But first off, we're going to talk about David Feherty and him and his addiction and the interview. So if you will, here's the interview right here, and we'll come back to you in a minute after David Feherty to talk about some oil and gas news and also talk about the Jays' favorite five. So thank you, and listen, and we'll be right back with you. David, welcome to the Jay Young Show.
Yeah, thank you.
My goodness.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We've known each other for a while now, going through different events, or your big military. We're going to talk about military. We're going to talk about charity, military stuff. We'll talk about it. Let's kind of get started with you first, and you growing up in Northern Ireland. So can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, Kenneth Branagh has just a relatively recent film called Belfast. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but that was essentially my childhood. I grew up just outside Belfast in a place called Bangor during the Troubles in the late 60s, all through the 70s, early 80s, that kind of thing. I was growing up in that area, and people have a tremendous sense of humor there because you have to. You got bombs going off, you got riots, troops on the street, roadblocks, and that was just sort of normal for me, growing up in that atmosphere. And it was, to be honest with you, it was a great place to grow up. Kids were safe. It was a great standard of education. Not that I took much advantage of it. I quit when I was 17. The whole school thing didn't agree with me. But no, it was an unusual place to spend your childhood years, shall we say.
So you say it's a great place to grow up, but there's bombs in the streets.
Yeah.
So how does that? We didn't have bombs in the streets in Sulphur Springs, Texas. I mean,
no. No, but it was very localized, the pockets of violence and this kind of thing. And it was back in the days of, you can't call it still terrorism, but, they would phone and say there's a bomb, everybody get out.
Wow.
That was generally the way they did it. It was sort of property damage, and people still got killed, of course. You know,
Wow.
I mean, it was still terrorism.
Right.
But you generally knew when it was going to happen.
Okay. Interesting. So you grow up, you're out of high school, I guess, if they have high school like they do here pretty much,
Yeah.
and you're 17 years old, and then what happened right after that?
Well, I was in a geography class, and they were teaching me the average rainfall in Western Samoa, which I didn't think was going to be useful no matter what I planned to do later in life. And I was a classic attention deficit child long before kids were diagnosed with any kind of learning difference. I was definitely in that category. I couldn't concentrate on things that didn't interest me. And music and English were the only two things that interested me in school. I excelled at those. I actually trained to be a singer for a while, and fortunately, I got out of that. And you're welcome, America. No, that's the last thing. I figured it out at the last minute. The last thing the world needed was another mediocre Irish tenor clutching the bar and butchering Danny Boy, you know. So the only other thing that I could do was play golf, and I wasn't very good at that either. I had a 5 handicap when I turned pro. I had to lie about my handicap in order to get an assistant pro's job.
Wow. So you're on the tour. How long are you on the European tour?
The best part of 20 years.
About 20 years. Okay, good. Because you had some wins there.
Yeah. I had 5 wins in Europe and 5 around the rest of the world.
Okay.
So, I think I won about £3 or £4 million, in prize money, which is like a bad weekend for Rory McIlroy now. It took me 20 years to do that.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. And you had the Dunhill. You won the Dunhill.
Yeah, it was the World 3-man team championship at the time, and we won that in 1990. I captained the Irish side that won that. That was one of the highlights, I think, because it was at St Andrews. And anytime you win at St Andrews is special.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Because did you play different courses in that golf tournament?
No,
like they did at Pebble,
it was always just the old course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we were there this summer. We couldn't get on. So
yeah, it's bribery.
Oh my goodness, it was.
Yeah.
But anyway, so but then you win the I think the last tournament you won was the Scottish Open.
Yeah, I won the Scottish in '86. The Italian Open I won in '86 as well. The Italian one was an interesting one. They gave us courtesy tricycles. You get a courtesy car here. Well, it was played in Venice, and the island that it was on called Albarella, and it was so low. It was only about 6 inches above the sea level, so they didn't allow any vehicles on the island. So they gave us tricycles.
Oh my goodness!
To get to work from. So I've got the Italian Open trophy in a basket in the front of my tricycle, like tring scusi, like going out through the crowd. And
oh my God!
Bizarre. They could only happen in Europe, Not happening here anytime soon.
I'm such a huge fan, and I just can't wait for you to say something. I don't know what's going to come out of your mouth or what like the rain in Somalia and have that to do with education. And I never know when you're gonna joke because you just entertain so many different people. And
well, I'm entertaining myself.
Yeah.
If anybody else is, that's a byproduct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can laugh at your own jokes, right? That's pretty good.
Yes. Well, I try not to.
Okay, so let's go back. So you win the Scottish Open, and then you party with Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean,
yeah, that's one that is kind of lost in the swirling mists of time. And, yeah, my manager, my agent at the time had been the road manager for Led Zeppelin back in the 70s, when they were in their heyday. And it was, he organized backstage passes the night of the, I won the Scottish Open and was given the trophy and went pretty much straight to a Led Zeppelin concert with it.
Wow.
And I woke up 2 days later in the ferns to the left of the 16th tee at Glen Eagles, which is 120 miles away from where I won the Scottish Open or the Led Zeppelin concert. And no recollection of how I got there and no Scottish Open trophy.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
You still haven't found it?
Still gone. There's no romantic ending to that story where
Oh, my
somebody's
God.
Jack Russell finds it in a hedge or something like that. Or
Nobody's returned it.
no,
Nobody's. My God! How was Led Zeppelin? Was that pretty cool?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! What a great story. Well, it's a great story to be out there.
I'm lucky to have survived it.
Oh my goodness, man! To be 120 miles away in Glen Eagles. So you played the European tour, then you came over here and played on the United States tour for a while.
Yeah.
And then you retired and became a broadcaster.
Well, yeah, I only played a couple of years here, and I was offered the job because Ben Wright, the famous old English commentator, he got fired for remarks that he made about the LPGA tour, and I just happened to be the right Irishman in the right bar, which was at the World Series, the old World Series of golf at Firestone. I'd qualified for that, winning some tournament in a communist country. I can't remember where it was. And I was standing at the bar at the Hilton in Fairlawn, right across from the golf course at Firestone. And I'm drinking vodka and Gatorade because I'm still an athlete. Minding my own business. And two gentlemen came across the room, and one of them stuck his hand out and said, "I'm Lance Barrow from CBS." And I thought, oh, shit, 60 minutes. This will be some fearless expose on alcoholism in sport or drugs or something, And, but as it turns out, it was CBS Sports. And they offered me the job. And I was 36, 37 at the time, and I thought I had some golf left in me. But then they told me how much they're going to pay me. I said, "Would you like to buy a set of clubs?" I have a set I don't need anymore.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah.
So they saw that in you. I guess they saw, have you ever done it before? Or what did they?
Well, Jack Graham at ABC had given me an opportunity a couple of years before at a tournament in Jamaica. And I'm not sure what it was called, but it was like an international event, where they invited winners from around the world, to come and play a trial in Jamaica. And I was the on-course reporter for that, and that was the first time that I ever did it. Then at the international up in Colorado, McCord had invited me up after he had heard me in the locker room or something like that, telling stories, and he said, "Well, why don't you come on and sit with me?" And Frank Chirkinian was the producer at the time, a legendary producer, and he told McCord, absolutely under no circumstances allow that stupid Mick into the tower with you. It's the last, he says, I think his words were, one idiot at a time. And then, so McCord looked at me and said, "Yeah, we're in." And I didn't know that Frank was against it, but, I got up there and we spent a couple of hours and it went, pretty well. And then I guess it was a couple of years later, it was really Gary that, gave me the opportunity, even though Jack had, demonstrated that I could do it before. Mm-hmm. But, it was McCord who made me believe, that I could.
That's great. Yeah, that's great.
He's been a great friend.
But no schooling really, or
no broadcasting school. I had to go through sensitivity training, which didn't go well either. Yeah.
Sensitivity?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, they get you in, and it was all the CBS sportscasters, and you basically got to sit and listen to whoever it was that was doing it. You just the obvious things, race, religion, politics, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Things that I wouldn't touch anyway, at least not on the air.
All right. Okay. So you just did the play-by-play from one of the holes, like the 18th hole or whatever. That was your major position.
I started as a course reporter for CBS, and myself and Peter Costas, we were the two guys on the ground for the most part of my career at CBS. I was 19 years there before I moved over to NBC. And almost all of it was spent on the ground, except at places like the Masters where there are no walkers. You know, I had the 15th hole at the Masters for 19 years.
Wow, that's great. That's great. So then you get to do all the interviews afterwards. And,
Yes.
I mean, throughout the whole week. And
I did the highlight show.
who were some of the best golfers that you interviewed?
You with the Golf Channel show? Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I interviewed 170 people.
Was it that many?
Over the 10 years,
Yeah.
you know, that we did, I think 16 shows a year and some live shows at the Super Bowls and things like that, you know, where we would have football guests on and, you know, some golfers. But, I mean, everybody from captains of industry to politicians to musicians to actors to golfers to other sports stars. You know, I was really lucky for 10 years to have had just the most amazing list of guests.
Yeah, I know. That was great. I always look forward to that. That was really good.
Yeah, I miss it.
Yeah. So Live Golf's not going to let you do that.
Well, no, it might happen.
Yeah.
Next year, you know, we're thinking about, you know, revitalizing the show, repackaging it in a way, and, you know, maybe, you know, getting it on the air, not you know, a live thing specifically, but, you know, just a standalone product.
Yeah. Who were some of the best guests that you interviewed? Anybody stand out?
That's
I like the Boom Boom.
Yeah.
Oh, Freddie, man.
Freddie was 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Of course, Freddie would take, you know, 2 episodes to tell you his name, if he can remember it.
Yeah.
No, Freddie was great. And, you know, I had 4 presidents, Matthew McConaughey, Sam Jackson, Don Cheadle. You know, I really enjoyed interviewing the actors, you know, because it's a very similar thing to golf. You know, you get up there and you really risk making a fool of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an actor, that's the big hurdle to get past.
Right.
And, you know, it's pretty similar, you know, getting, you know, on the first tee at a Ryder Cup or at the Masters or whatever. You know, I mean, you could make an idiot of yourself quite easily.
Right. Now, is that where you had Tom Cruise? Was there something about Tom Cruise and you working out or something? What was that?
No, well, I mean, I was diagnosed as bipolar, you know, at some stage during this thing. You know, I mean, I've struggled with depression, you know, throughout, and addiction throughout my life. And he had made some comments about Brooke Shields' postpartum depression, you know, that all she needed to do was exercise. Right. You know, and that would get her out of it.
Yeah.
You know, which is not really the way depression works.
Right.
It does help, you know, the exercise part of it, but it's a brain chemistry thing. So I suggested that, you know, beating the shit out of Tom Cruise would be exercise enough to cure my depression anyway. You know,
that would definitely help.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Who's your favorite president?
He's since apologized for that, by the way.
Oh, has he really?
He's a good
yeah.
man. Yeah.
He understands a little more and what goes on in the.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Who was your favorite president? You did President Trump twice,
Yes.
I believe, but
Yeah.
who was your favorite? Who's the best personality?
You know, I mean, I love President Bush, and I just, you know, I love President Clinton. They were both terrific. They were all terrific, you know. President Obama on the White House lawn, although that wasn't for the show, that was for the Olympics, I want to say. I did that one. He was wonderful as well. You know, my son died about 6 years ago, and the first person to call me was President Clinton.
Oh, wow.
The very first person.
Wow.
You know, the first time I answered the phone, it was him, and his friendship has meant a lot to me over the years, as has President Bush's.
Yeah, that's awesome. Trump, pretty charismatic, or
You know, you get exactly, you know, what you see is what you get.
yeah, I bet.
You know, I mean, he's just larger than life. You know,
yeah, I bet. Wow, unbelievable. So my name's not David Feherty, so I can't really get those kind of guests, but what would you do if you were me? How could I get better guests or ask better questions, or if we have any podcasters out there that would like to know more about is there a key to it?
it's, you know, it's word of mouth and eyeballs on the screen and people listening, you know. For my show, I mean, we had people call the show and ask to be on that I would never have guessed. You know, someone like Kevin Hart.
Oh, wow.
His people call and say, you know, we'd like to do the show. But, you know, and it was only, I mean, Kevin Hart doesn't even play golf, but, you know.
But he wanted to be on the show.
Yeah. I mean, he wanted to be on the show, and I'm not the quickest in the uptake, you know, but I think he was after the audience that I had, you know, which wouldn't be typically his audience.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, I mean, a really incredibly smart guy.
Yeah.
You know, fast and, you know, just a fascinating person. And all of these people that I interviewed over the years, you know, they all had, you know, one thing in common, and it's a thing that great actors and great musicians and great athletes and great businessmen, you know, have. They all want to be in a place where they know they're going to be uncomfortable. You know, they actually want to be there.
Right.
You know, you think of Michael Jordan, he wanted the ball. You know, they want the responsibility that comes with it.
Right.
And, you know, unsuccessful people don't want that responsibility. That's the common denominator among the people that I interviewed. Sure.
Right. Wow. Well, bet so. I bet so. So if you're talking to somebody, I mean, I think consistency too is one thing that I'm missing in my podcast, because I do this kind of as a hobby, and I should take it more as a, hey, you know what, man, this is a great show. It's a great platform. I've got some great guests like you. I need to make sure I continue on with it instead of just, you know, do an episode now and wait another month and do another, you know, I mean, just really just continue asking or finding good questions, asking good questions, and then being consistent.
Well, interviewing is as much about listening as it is about asking. You know, you want short questions and long answers. There's nothing worse than the opposite of that. Right. You know, where you take, you know, 90 seconds to ask a question, you answered it a couple of times probably, and, you know, you get, yep. Yeah. Or nope. Yes. That's true. It doesn't work.
It'd be kind of boring, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
How am I doing so far? Am I doing okay so far?
Doing great.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. So tell me more about, okay, so now you're a broadcaster, you come in and you've had your show, which I love the show, the intro, that was interesting, intro, and then afterwards, you all of a sudden you're going to the Live Tour now. You're on the Live Tour, and you. Well,
I moved, you know, from CBS to NBC, you know, where I think I did 8 years with Tommy Roy at NBC, and it was. I mean, I've been so incredibly lucky throughout my career, whether it was playing or broadcasting, you know, to work. And when I played, you know, it was in the era of, you know, Ballesteros and Faldo and, you know, Woosnam and Langer and Olazabal, you know, these players that were coming across and making the majors more competitive, winning the Masters, making the Ryder Cup more competitive. And, you know, when I turned to broadcasting, you know, I mean, I worked with Frank Chirkinian and Pat Summerall and, you know, Jim Nance for so many years with Tommy Roy and Dan Hicks and Lance Barrow with, I mean, I've worked with Al Michaels, you know, Chris Collinsworth. I've worked the Olympics, the winter and summer games. Why they sent me to Korea in the winter, I have no idea. But I did it anyway.
Oh, my gosh.
You know, the Ryder Cup, the President's Cup, all four majors for networks. I'm not sure if there's been another broadcaster that has, you know, covered the whole lot of them like that. I mean, they're very few and far between, so I've been incredibly lucky.
Wow. Golly, you put the miles on.
Yeah.
And definitely put the miles on, and definitely the deal. So who would be in your foursome if you said, hey, okay, I get three, or I'll say three or four, I don't know. But you said, hey, I've got the keys to the Masters. Of course, it's not a big deal for you to play the Masters. It'd be life-changing for me, of course. But for you, it wouldn't be a deal. But if you had your favorite course, they said, hey, you got three or four people, and you could pick anybody, who would you have?
Alive or dead?
Alive or dead?
Okay. Well, I would play with Jack because he's the only one. I mean, I played 9 holes of a practice round with him in Atlanta way back when, but I never got to play with him in competition. I played with Arnold 3 times, played with Lee Trevino, who was my hero growing up, and still is to this day.
Oh, my gosh.
I played with Tom Watson, and he became a great friend. I would play with Jack. I would play with my dad one more time. And I might play with my son, who I lost, 6 years ago.
Well.
And Annika Sorenstam.
Really?
Never played with Annika, and she's the greatest female to play the game as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. I'm good. I'm glad you said your son. Did your son play golf?
He didn't really. Yeah, he played at it.
Yeah.
He would go out and, I'd give him a few lessons, which he wouldn't listen to.
Yeah. Typical. Yeah. Wasn't old enough to listen yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what age that is that we get to that where we start listening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm an alcoholic, which I've told everybody on the show, and I've talked a lot about, my story about me drinking in high school and college, and then driving down, and it's kind of like I just got tired of waking up at, going down the highway or something, when I was drinking. And so I had DWIs and, so I quit drinking in 1995, January 1st, 1995, because I got really, New Year's Eve. Yeah.
New Year's resolution.
Yeah. New Year's Eve was but on my second time, my second official time was probably like my 12th time or 50th time. I said, I'm just going to quit, time. But this was really one of those that I did quit for the second time for a stretch of more than 2 days or something,
Right. Yeah.
And I quit then, and I haven't gone back. But I know you've got a story about yourself and about sobriety. And just for the listeners out there, I know there's people have a lot of fighting with depression or with alcoholism or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you normally tell people when they ask you something about your story, or what kind of advice would you give other people?
Well, mine's a cautionary tale, really. I started drinking when I was about 14, I suppose, and it is strange the way that it happened. We're on a holiday. The only time I think we'd ever gone abroad as a family, we went to Austria, and it was in a parking lot in Salzburg. Well, it was in a restaurant first, I tried a little of my father's wine. It was kind of this sweet peas porter wine. I thought, well, that's not bad. But my dad said, oh, really? He said, drink the whole glass. So I drank the whole glass. And that was the day I started drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Because it felt pretty good. And I don't know when I can't put my finger on when it became a problem, because I was so good at it. I didn't get hungover. I was a good drunk. The life and soul of the party. That kind of thing.
I bet you were funny. Well, you're already funny.
Probably was. Yeah, probably funny.
Funnier. Yeah. Funnier, funniest, or.
Yeah, but as the years went by, and then we got the drugs involved as well. There was a lot of cocaine at one stage, which is a seriously bad drug for anybody. Were
you on the tour then, broadcasting?
Oh, during? Yeah. No, not while I was playing. This is more after. And it really just sort of snowballed to a place where it was in the off season, I remember, and my daughter was about 5 or 6, and she kind of crawled into my lap, and there was a bottle of Bushmills on the table just to my left, and it was almost empty, and she looked at me, she put her nose right on mine, like this, with a little grin, and she said, Dad, you need another bottle.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that was the sort of the beginning of it for me. I mean, there were several attempts that were unsuccessful, but I was doing a made-for-TV thing in Prince Edward Island in the Maritimes up in Canada, where it was Jack Nicklaus versus Tom Watson. And the Canadian TV, they hired me to be the on-course reporter and to interview the two players, before So it was the night before, and I'd already interviewed Jack, and he was sitting with Barbara, just behind in the upstairs of the clubhouse, and I was in the depths of a really bad depression at this stage, just and drinking to knock the edges off it, and Vicodins, anything I could take, to make me feel different, just different to the way that it felt was better than, the way that I felt. It's just, when people ask me, what is depression? When I get sad and, saying, well, everybody gets sad, but depression is sadness minus hope. And that hope is you can't live without that. You can live without money, without love, without a lot of things, but you cannot live without hope.
Yeah.
And upstairs in the clubhouse, I asked Tom, the first question, and he just kind of looked at me funny. I didn't know him particularly well at all at this time, and he put his hand over the lens of the camera and he said, "You're not well, are you?" I was taken aback. I said, No, I'm not. I said, "How do you know?" He said, "Oh, I can see it in your eyes."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, what do you see?" And he said, "I see my reflection."
What?
And I didn't know that Tom was an alcoholic. He had been sober for a number of years at that point, and he said to me, "You need to come with me." And right now I'm backpedaling. All I can think of is the bottle in the room. And, I said, "To where?" He said, "To Kansas City." I said, "We're in the Maritimes. We need 2 float planes and a kayak to get to Toronto. How are we going to get, to Kansas City?" And I hear in the back, "I have a G5. And I turn around and I'm being heckled by Jack Nicklaus and kidnapped by Tom Watson. And
God,
that was 2006. And,
wow.
That was the day after, when they played the match and Jack had, "Oh, I'm old and I'm, I can't play anymore." And, he won.
Oh, my God.
66-68, something like that.
Golly. Wow.
Jack flew me and Tom, and that was the start of, and I don't have perfect attendance, but that was the start of it for me, and I'm sober right now.
Good for you. Congratulations. That's it's hard. It's not easy.
It's hard every day.
Yeah.
And I'm not what they call in recovery, because there's no such thing as recovery.
Right.
People, I love these commercials on the TV say, "Well, I used to be an addict." Yeah, no. Yeah, you are an addict.
Still, every day.
Yeah,
every day we fight it.
Every day, or you weren't to start off with.
I got pissed off.
I'm a dry drunk.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
Absolutely. No, we all are.
But I'm dry.
Yeah.
It's a struggle every day.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It really is. I was at we're in Cabo this weekend, and this we're at this place, Rosa Negra, and this waiter comes to me and he says, "What would you like to drink, sir?" And my wife got a lychee teeny, whatever that is, and I said, "I'll take a Diet Coke." He goes, "What?" And I said, "Diet Coke, Coke Light," and he goes, "Is that all?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, and he came back, he goes, "Sure you don't? Are you sure you don't want anything to drink? And I go, "Hell yeah, I want something to drink, but not helping." Yeah, exactly. Yeah, throw me a light, just do something. Try to. I said, "Hell yeah!" And so I tried to tell him afterwards, and my English was, and I got a bad steak as well, because they charge you 5,200 pesos for one Kobe steak, and I didn't like it, and I was trying to whatever, and I said, "Hey, but also too, you know what?" I said, "I'm an alcoholic," and I said, "You're asking me if I want to drink 4 times doesn't help an alcoholic." SOB, and he didn't understand. Yeah. "Oh, okay, yeah, well, and yeah." But anyway, that's great. Do you think John Daly will ever become sober?
John's had periods of sobriety in his life, but it doesn't suit him.
Yeah.
It doesn't suit him.
Gosh, that's crazy.
He's just fine. Johnny is, and my father was like this. He drank less and less as the years got by. He was an alcoholic, for sure, but it just sort of tapered off. As he got older.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that'll happen to me.
Yeah. God, man, I'll tell you what, it's unbelievable. But it's so great that Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson thought of you enough to where they took you to a alcohol retreatment program right then. Yeah. And for Jack to,
No, I've been very
Honestly.
lucky with the friends that I've made and the people that have cared about me over the years. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, that is awesome. Good for you. Good to make friends like that, but good to have people in your back pockets, people you can call and get support from, and it's always good. So that's great. What else do you want to talk about? Is there anything else in particular that we haven't talked about? I know there was a lot of questions that we had that we were talking about. I want to make sure we talk about broadcasting, the Live Tour. Yeah. What's it like being on the Live Tour? Is it different?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's been wonderful. There's just an added urgency to everything, that I never had before. The pace of play is faster. Mm-hmm. It's just
3 days instead of 4.
3 days instead of 4. There's a quicker rhythm to it. The shotgun start puts everybody on the golf course at the same time. No one has an advantage.
Yeah.
Where you get an early morning tee time or
Isn't
something.
Isn't that weird? The shotgun start?
I was dubious about it to start off with, but it really works. Mm-hmm. It really has worked. On the team aspect to it as well, I was skeptical about when I first started, but the players they're really invested in it. Mm-hmm. And, there's an elevated standard of play in team events, because you don't want to let your teammates down. You see it in Ryder Cup all the time. You see the most amazing golf. Guys making 7-8 birdies in a row, things like that. I mean, there's definitely an added layer, with the team event at Live that has surprised me for sure.
Mm-hmm. You said you did it for the money, right? I mean, it's like they paid so well. It's like
absolutely. That was a big part of it. Greg picked up the phone and called me, and I had a year left with my contract at NBC, and they were kind enough to, again, I was lucky enough to be let out of that, and I basically went from the U.S. or from the Open Championship that Cameron Smith won to a couple of weeks later, moment I was with NBC, the next, the snap of the fingers, and I was with Liv. Just happened kind of overnight.
Yeah. What's the biggest surprises you think that we're going to see going into 2024 between the PGA? You think they're going to combine at some point? I know that's kind of a topic.
I don't know, and I've spoken to a lot of people who should know, and they don't know either. It'll be interesting to see this amalgamation, how it's going to come together. I can't get my head around, there's one's a team, event, and, where there's individual aspect to it as well, of course, but the rest is pure stroke play. I can't get my head around it, to be perfectly honest with you. I'd love to be able to give you an answer, but no, I have no idea.
There's just so much money with Saudi Arabia and broadcasting and that whole dynamic part, very extraordinary about what they can do, and what could happen. And it's like people never thought that this would happen with the Live Tour. It's like,
we're business as usual next year. 2024, we got 14 events, 7 abroad, 7 in the continental U.S. Yeah. So it's just, it'll be the same.
14.
14. Yeah.
14 events. Wow. That's it. Good for you. Good for you. Making money and 14 events, and that's great.
I'm semi-retired, it seems.
Yeah.
At least it seems like that for, part of the year, but then when work starts up, it keeps me busy enough.
You're full on. That's good. So I was trying to think of the Live Tour with the money they have, the PGA Tour. You probably have a lot of friends, or a lot of your older PGA friends that are still, they didn't like that. They don't like the Live Tour. Is that kind of a challenge with you today?
That sentiment has kind of died down, to say the least, because of what we've done for the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. Since we showed up, the new kids on the block, or however you want to describe us, the PGA Tour has been forced to, up their, up the ante for the players. Now, if you get your card, you're guaranteed, I think, $500,000, which is going to pay your expenses. the players have more of a control over their, name and likeness, that kind of thing, where they didn't have before. They're heading in that direction, so I don't think there's nearly the amount of animosity that there was to start off with.
Yeah. I remember hearing a lot of interviews a couple of years ago, and I forget who it was, and probably don't bring their name up because they're probably don't want me to think that they haven't changed their mind already. But I know that they were at first like I don't know if it was because of the money or because of just Saudi Arabia. You've heard all the oil money and all the blood that goes with that, and it's like. But I think everybody's kind of settled down now.
That money is in sports throughout the world. Horse racing, Premier League, and there's it's not just us that's accepting this money. There's been a tremendous amount of sports over the years that the Saudi has supported.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I definitely agree. What would you tell? Last question, maybe. I don't know. What would you tell your 18-year-old self? Probably heard that question before, but one of my favorites for somebody like you.
Well, I'm not sure that I would say a word because I wouldn't want to do anything differently. I know I made a lot of mistakes, and I did a lot of things that were detrimental to my health and my mental health and that kind of thing, but if I did anything different, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I'm in a great place. I've got a great wife who is just amazing, looks after, the business side of my, of my business, the day-to-day stuff. I haven't written a check in 30 years. I don't know where we bank. I just go to work in the morning, come back, and I get to spend a lot of time at home as well.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. Good for you. That's great. Good having that support in your wife and all that stuff. Yeah. That's funny. I'm the same way. My wife said something about somebody being on the phone. She needed to talk to me about one of the credit cards. I'm like, we have a credit card there? But that's good. I mean, you trust her, and you can handle your stuff, and which is good. It's helped you be who you are, which is awesome, which is good. Anything else you can think of that you'd like to share, or just share with our younger listeners, or somebody that says, hey, what if I wanted to go into broadcasting? Or what do you say when somebody says, how can I do what David Feherty does? Yeah,
you can't really unless you spend 20 years on tour. And, it's very difficult to break into these spots. There aren't that many of them.
Yeah.
For a start. And, starting as a course reporter or, the equivalent of a sideline reporter, that sort of thing, you really have to have the experience.
Right.
To know what players have felt, what they're feeling, and, what's going on, where to stand, where to be, at any given time. It's if you wanted to do what I've done, then, you'd nearly have to, do the same thing. Leave school early.
Yeah.
Forget college and just go. But if you do something that you love, I'm 65 now, and I haven't worked a day in my life.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. Good for you. Good for you. Well, we want to know more about your stand-up comedian. This guy he's really. We could have had a different version of the show, I guess, if we would have got some of his things that I've heard him talk about. And Preston Trails are at dinners or at some of the stuff. But anyway, people need to reach out. David Feherty, need to listen to you. You've done a lot of different shows, stand-up comedian shows. Will that continue, and will you do some next year?
Yeah, I'm starting next year in April at Augusta. Downtown Augusta, there's a theater down there, so I do a 2-hour one-man show, and I've done 200 of them over the last 10 years, throughout the country. Started in Canada. And sort of migrated down here with that act. And I'm sort of running out of places to play.
Wow.
Almost, in the continental United States. But, it's been a blast. Nothing, quite like the rush of, having 1,000 people there and being able to, being on top of them in these beautiful theaters, or having them on top of you, rather,
Yeah.
2 or 3 balconies, and these old Art Deco theaters,
Oh,
like
my
the
God.
Florida Theater or the Alabama Theater, or the Fox Theater in Detroit. It's just magnificent.
Right.
And, it's been a thrill for me over the last decade.
That's great. That's great. Well, David, I'll tell you, I want to respect your time. So I know that you've done this, and I really do appreciate you coming in and just sharing with your story with us, because it is something that it's very difficult to get someone like you to come on a show like this and tell people what you think and how well you've done, the mistakes that you've made, things that you need to work on, things that, how hard it is to be sober, how hard it is to, to be in this place. But I really do appreciate you coming on and just talking to us and telling us all about the David Feherty that we all knew and we hope you would be. And you definitely are somebody that, I admire, and I look forward to hearing more about you in the future.
That was a pleasure.
Thank you very much, David.
Thanks, Drew.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Jay, I hope you listened to that. I hope that was a great listen for you. I hope you learned a few things. David Feherty he's an idol. I mean, he's mentored so many people with his addiction. He's helped so many different people. And hopefully there's somebody out there that you can send this to and help them, because a lot of us do fight from addiction. I do too. I'm a 30-year sober. As I mentioned, been sober 30 years as of this January. And some of us just can't do it. We just can't. And I'm one of those that can't. And I haven't tried in 30 years. I tried a lot before. I tried to, drink 1 or 2 and then it didn't work. So I had to just totally
You're just
quit.
doing some research. It happens.
I know. I was trying, well, what if I did this, or what if I did this? And then I tell you what, I was sober for about 7 or 8 months one time. And a client in California handed me a beer. And he goes, "Here, Jay, it's hot. We're playing golf in California. Why not just have a beer?" And I'm like, well, I've been sober 7, 8 months. This is only a beer. I mean, how can that hurt, right? It's like, oh, yeah, okay.
Right.
Sure, Mr. Cribbs. And I took that, and that night I got sloshed. And I tell you what, I went on another rampage. I just can't do it, And
yeah. No, it's fair. And I really feel like there's a sober movement right now with Gen Z. A lot of bars are actually making a shift to have a mocktail menu available, which is really great, because I think the hardest thing for people whenever they're trying to transition away from alcohol is to have an alternative drink, right? Where you're not holding a water in your hand, but you're actually having a drink with everyone else, and you don't feel ousted, because really at the core of it, when people are drinking, it's to try and be a part of that community and that communal experience where everybody's engaging in a like activity. So whenever you have an alternative, it really does make a big impact. And if you're ever wanting to try it out for new, maybe just do a soda water and lime. It looks like a gin and tonic. Nobody knows the difference, but you will the next day for sure, whenever you don't have a hangover and everybody else does.
Exactly. You're exactly right. Mm-hmm. People used to, I think we even had somebody on. Didn't we have somebody on about 6 months ago?
Yeah, we've had many. Yes. Barry Arnold with Boisson.
Yeah, that's right. They're building bars that is non-alcoholic or something, or like non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
Building it around that or something, which is pretty cool. And people used to say, well, hey, Jay, how about a non-alcoholic beer? And I go, I didn't drink beer for the taste of it. I drank it.
Right.
I drank it because I wanted to get drunk. Hey.
Yes.
But anyway, we shouldn't talk like that.
Have a good time. Well, no, it's fair, because I used to work in country music radio, and I will say that one of the biggest things that ruined people's careers in country music was alcohol. And it was something that nobody ever really talked about. They always talk about cocaine or, weed or whatever, right? But they never really talk about alcohol. And I would say that is really an impactful career inhibitor when you don't have the correct management of it. So no, it's David Feherty, great conversation, always a great revisit. So, I hope that, like you said, I hope that helped at least one person, because that's the point of the show, is to help at least one person, whether that's through entrepreneurship or wrestling with addiction or having hope or finding hope. It's one of those key points of the show.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're exactly right. Exactly right. Let's jump over to some oil and gas news. I know that, one of the things I noticed that oil prices were coming up today, and one reason why oil prices are coming up is because of OPEC saying that, well, we may not put that 1.5 million barrels on the market. We may do less, And if they do less, that means there's less supply, which less supply means higher prices. And like, I'm a fourth generation. I've been along this business for many, many decades, starting back in the 80s after college. And I'll tell you, you'd never know what's going to happen. I've lost, I don't do it anymore, but I've lost money in the stock market or in the futures when you just think that there is absolutely zero way that it's going to go this direction in oil and trading oil. It's like the Cowboys. It's like betting on like if you think there's no way possible they're going to win that game or lose that game, and you bet on them, it goes the other way. Exactly with oil and gas. You never know what's going to happen with oil and gas about, what's going to happen. And over time, you're going to see that prices are going to be in the $65 to $70 range. They've been doing that for 20 years, up and down, all around. It's going to stay there. One thing I do like is natural gas, and I like the natural gas because of LNG. We're going to send more natural gas overseas, and because of that, our demand is going to go up for United States production. And data centers that are using a tremendous amount of natural gas, we're going to see a need for it. So we're right in the middle of a lot of natural gas production, which is really good. So I know the prices have surged there, and pretty excited about that.
Yeah, surged about 17.3% last week.
Yeah.
So exciting things there.
Yeah, $3.20. That makes. I mean, our Bivens project that we're drilling, we're getting a 40-50% bump on that, which means BTU's 1,400, which means we're getting a 30-40% premium. So if gas is 3, we'll actually get 4 or more on that, because we are getting an increase because the BTU is so good out there. So I'm really excited about that. We were this in the show to talk about the oil and gas and Bivens and completions, but this show is sponsored by King Operating, so I'm going to put a little plug in there for, hey, we're completing those wells right now, and to look forward to the output on that. So. Yeah.
Now, Jay, what are your thoughts on Ukraine hitting the largest oil terminal in Russian-occupied Crimea?
Yeah. Well, geopolitics is always something that's going to see prices, fluctuate, and they're trying to, hurt Russia, and they're trying to make Russia. Which, okay, Putin's not going to just go, oh, I'm sorry, and be like a dog, that puts his tail between his legs and runs away.
Not his way.
Yeah, not him in a way. But anyway, so I think it's good that he's on his toes, and I think it's good that they're knocking off big supply chains like this, because, like I said, you heard Putin in his pocketbook. That's really going to piss him off. So I don't know if I want to piss him off or not, but we'll see prices all over the map. I think they'll be higher than they are right now going into this year and next year. I know they are in the United States because we are drilling we did drill in 2024 a tremendous amount of oil and gas wells in the shale, the Wolfcamp shale out in West Texas. Drilled a lot of them. This year, we're drilling is down 30-40%. So we're drilling a lot less wells than we did last year. And, wells decline. They decline a lot faster. So we're going to have production declining, and we're going to see a lot of production not coming on with any new wells. So our production in 2026 is going to be a lot less than it is now, which means we're going to need oil from overseas, which means the prices are going to start going up again. So we'll see that come in pretty soon. Okay, well, if we're through with that, let's bring in the other 3 guests we have. I mean, not to no ado, man. It's been 25 minutes. I'm sorry it took us so long to get here. But But I've got Steve Mullican. Steve's the Chief Operating Officer for King Operating Corporation. I've got Laura Black, who's she's Director of Marketing for King Operating, and I've also got Rachel Griffith. She's the Senior Vice President in charge of our business development in the back. And guys, thank you so much for coming in today. It is just a pleasure to have you to talk about the weekly five. So when we talk about the weekly five, we talk about any part of what's going on and what's interesting to all of us. So like the word of the week is hope. I did something about talking about hope. Hope is something that we really, when we look up in the morning, we hope that this is not the best we've ever done. It's like when you're drinking and you're drunk and you wake up in the morning and you have a hangover. I know none of us on this board do that, but that's the best you're going to feel all day long because it's got to get better, right? Just kidding. But talk about hope. When I talk about hope, I think about goals. I think about building a $3 billion company in 3 years. I think about what is it that we need to do in order to get there and put yourself around great people. But hope, right? Having a good time, doing what you want to, doing what you love, doing things that is something that we all hope to do. I know I kind of use that word loosely, but we all hope to do is to do the things necessary for us to all have fun, be healthy, wealthy, and wise, right? So that's kind of what I think hope is, and looking out for the future. And who wants to start off? Jordan, do you want to start off with talking about hope? What's your thoughts about hope?
Yeah, I think that hope, it really does tie into faith, I would say, for me. It's choosing joy and positivity and having faith in the future that's been planned for you, and like sitting in that. And that's kind of my understanding of hope, because I don't know, when you have hope, you're not residing in fear. You're having faith that there's something better ahead. So that's kind of my understanding of it.
Oh, great. Well, you get
Rachel, Laura?
Yeah. No, I mean, you make a great point. I think makes me think of Jeremiah 29:11, which says that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
As God has a plan, and it's for it's hope in our future. So I mean, it is all a part of that. So I completely agree with you on that, Jordan.
Yeah. Very good. We're jumping into Bible verses quicker than we normally do, but hey.
Yeah.
So
they kind of tie in together, really.
That's right. They do. They do.
Yeah. Rachel, what about you? What do you think? What's your thought about hope? And if you want to talk about a Bible verse, you can talk about a Bible verse if you want.
Yeah, we're jumping into our Bible verses early, but I love that. Yeah, I mean, hope is what gives us an expectation of something good in life, right? It gives us, whenever I think of hope, I think of expectation. It means that I have an expectancy in life. I have something that is driving me and propelling me. And that could be, for us as Christians, right? Like we have hope and confidence in a God that loves us, in a God that, said we were worthy of his sacrifice. We were worthy of forgiveness. That kind of hope is what gives you expectancy in life. It gives you joy. It gives you confidence. And it's an exciting thing to know on this earth, despite everything that's going on, chaos, bad news, sadness, things happen in this life. They happen in this world, but yet we have hope. We have something greater. We have something bigger. We have an expectation that God is for us and not against us, that he loves us. And when I think of hope, I just think of that expectancy, expecting good in life because of what God has promised me. And that's really a driving factor for me personally. And so hope is really something very powerful in each of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Laura, what do you think?
I think basically the same thing as she's talking about with hope is that it's what keeps you moving forward in life when your brain is telling you, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. Hope is that driving force, and it fuels your resilience each day. And for me, I'll talk about a Bible verse that I think of is Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace as you trust in him, so that you may overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. And it's just that, it's that thing inside of you that comes from God, that just, that there's more ahead, that God has a plan, and it keeps you moving forward.
Yeah. No, it's great. And building a company like King Operating, which is a fascinating company, it's got some great people. And what it took a lot of resiliency. It took a lot of hope. It took a lot of, hey, this is where I see the business going, and this is where I need help, So I think a lot of that's, needing help, reaching out to people and saying, hey man, I can't do this all by myself. What can you do to help this company do the right thing for the investor? And what is it that we need to do? Yeah, we stumble from time to time, but we pick ourselves back up, and we know that, hey, you know what? We're good people. We're going to do great things, and all we have to do is just continue being on the right. I was thinking about rejoice in hope, be patient in tribulation, be constant in a prayer. Romans 12:12, which is a great one as well. I'm thinking about that one. I know, and I tell you what, I kind of cheated because I just sent in perplexity, which is my chat GPT. And, but I just said, hey, what's a good Bible verse for hope? And it gives me what I want, or what I need is, the kind of information. So if I'm feeling something, I can always go to perplexity, or you can go to chat GPT. Hey, I'm feeling this today. What's a good Bible verse that I can read over and over and over again? Don't read it just one time and think of this, that's it, and you're cured. You may have to read it over and over and over again. I know Steve's a big advocate for the Bible, and him and his wife have, they've read the Bible for years and prayed together and all. Tell us something, Steve, about what you like most about the Bible, and how it's helped you in your career and your relationships with you and your kids.
Well, one thing is the Bible is everything. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, it has all the answers. It's the living Word of God, and it's consistent now as it was before. I mean, so if you have problems, you can go to that. And you're right. I mean, my wife and I, my wife is much more of a Bible scholar than I am. It's amazing to me the retention she's had. She's probably read it, I don't know, probably 15 or 20 times in her lifetime. And, I've probably done it maybe twice, but haven't retained nearly what she has. But the thing is it is, whenever you have problems, you can go to that. And a big part of that too is the Holy Spirit guiding me through where I need to go to be able to hear from God through the Bible. And, through the years of my career, it's been, I know early on, when you're kind of a younger Christian and you're in your job, you tend to be a little more timid about your faith. And, probably definitely over the last 20 years, I just kind of like, people just knew. It's not like I sat there and preached to them or had even a Bible on my desk, but if I had an opportunity, I would talk to them about my faith and why, through the years. I mean, there has been so many things that has had me and my wife dependent upon the Bible and God, and we've had a lot of tribulations through our lives. I mean, we lost a son as an infant. That was, I tell people we are probably the highest risk marriage couple that's been married 42 years. We were high school sweethearts. We got married in college, and we lost a child. And we were able to only survive that through God and the Bible. So, I mean, it is a huge part of our lives.
Wow. So. Awesome. That's awesome. What a great story to hear and to know. Hey, it's not, it's not easy. Nothing's easy, obviously. And being together that long is just incredible, so man, hats off to you guys. Rachel, what do you think? I tell you, Rachel's got a great background. I mean, she really does. I mean, she's got, a great background. She went overseas and spent, I forget how many, 15 years, 16 years talking about in ministry and learning. I mean, I don't want this to turn into this Jay Young show is not going to be totally Christian. I don't want to think that, but I tell you what, when you get there, it's like, man, you surround yourself with great people and Bible, people, and it's really great, and you want to talk about it. So yeah, nobody's a preacher here. We're not passing the offering or anything like that. We're just having fun, or we're just talking about that. Do we have an offering plate, Laura? I don't know.
I was just laughing.
How do you hit that subscribe button?
We can make that happen. Pass the plate.
But I love talking about it, and I tell you, when you surround yourself with good people and church people, and this is not easy. Life is not easy, and I have made so many mistakes in my life. Man, sinner and all the things that I've done, and I ask God for forgiveness. I have to all the time, I'm trying to get better as a person. So, I mean, I am not perfect, and I don't want everybody to think that I am perfect. And we don't have the time to talk about how many mistakes I've made. But you know what? I want to learn, and I want to hang around better people, and hanging around, these four people right here are just incredible, because I know I can't stray away from, or I know that's not an option for me to, I can't jump with Steve in my car and go, hey man, let's go to a bar or something, or let's go to a gentleman's club. So I can't do it, that's great, because there are some people that used to jump in my car it was like, that's where we're going, and that's out of the picture now. And what I thank God for that. I thank my wife for that. I thank the people I hang around. So it's great news. So Rachel, I'm sorry, this was about you. This wasn't about me.
No, I mean, I like this could be our oil and gas Bible study bash or something.
But I think, Rachel, like when we're looking at the missionary work and the overseas work that you've done, how did that tie into your perspective of hope as you've navigated your life back over in the United States afterward?
Oh, man. Yeah, we don't have time for all of that. That's a lot. I mean, when you work in missions full time, you see, the worst of life, the worst of humanity, the hardest of tragedy and suffering. And, some people can't handle that. But for us, the hope that we have is knowing that there is actually a real God, a real Jesus who loves people, and he transforms lives no matter where they're at, no matter the situation. Sometimes that looks different, that transformation versus an American or someone overseas. But it instilled in me so much hope, being able to see God move in so many people's lives, whether that was through education or helping people start a small business, helping them overcome trauma or abuse. I mean, I could go on and on here, so I won't do that. But yeah, I think as believers, the one great testimony that each of us has is what Steve said. And that is, how do you know Jesus is real? And most of us can look at our own lives and say, because I'm changed, because I have hope, because I have peace, because I've been delivered. And that is the great testimony of believers, is our own personal things that we've seen in our lives. And that's part of my journey as a missionary, just seeing God move over and over again in people's lives and in my own personal life. Like a lot of us, I have a great testimony, but this is not the Rachel show right now, so I'm going to kick it back to Jay. But yeah, Jesus is full of hope, and he is really alive. That's
awesome. And hey, this is anybody's show. It's Gangsta God show, but we'll talk about anytime you want to throw in anything and talk about that. I'm very thankful. So thank you very much for that. And I do want to. We do need to move on. I know we've been here 40 minutes and we still have the Feherty show that we're supposed to include in this hour long. So let's talk about this. Now, what is the Christian show that's on Netflix that has like four or five seasons now, and it starts with a C?
The Chosen.
Chosen. That's it. God, I couldn't think of it. And I I was trying to. I couldn't think of that. But who's watched that? Have y'all watched that?
I've seen it, but I haven't watched it yet.
I have.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So y'all, all three of you have, and me and Jordan are the only ones that haven't. Okay.
Odd one's out.
Yeah. I know. But that's something that what's the biggest advantage of that? Rachel, what did you like most about that?
Oh man, I think it's such a great depiction for people to be able to visualize and see from a different angle how it would look when Jesus was actually a man on this earth. Like, a lot of people don't realize that Jesus wasn't floating around like God on the earth. It says that he came as a man. He had to come as a man. He was God, but he was a man in physical flesh. And that journey is so beautiful, watching him walk that out, watching him, seeing Mary Magdalene delivered from demons and such a horrible, journey that she had been in, tormented. So it's just a beautiful, I haven't watched all 4 seasons, but I did watch the first 2, and it's really just a beautiful depiction of watching Jesus walk into his ministry, his earthly ministry, and being able to see those miracles, those healings, people, encountering him. And yeah, it's really beautiful.
Awesome. Laura, what did you think? Yeah.
I kind of think the same thing. I enjoy how it makes these biblical stories that, when you go to church and you hear them and you read them, it kind of brings them to life. And you really see it, and you picture them in your head, but this kind of puts it on the screen for you. And they've done such a magnificent job of really staying true to the Word of God, which I really like, because there's some out there that they'll put a movie or a TV show or something out there, and they take their little Hollywood, the ways of doing things. This has really stayed true, and I think each season has developed a bigger and bigger following, which I think speaks to the amazing job that they do with it.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, something that's watching. Any podcast? Is there any podcast? Anybody think? I listened to Joel Osteen this morning. I love Joel Osteen. I think he's great. I know my wife she thinks he's a salesman or something, or but because he sounds like. But I love the way he sounds. I think he's great. I love listening to him. Anybody else? Anybody other have another podcast, a favorite podcast that they're listening to right now?
Rachel, you were telling me about one earlier today.
Oh, I was actually just saying, it's not one podcast. I'm always searching, either YouTube or Spotify just to see what is coming out on the IDCs, on who's talking, which CPAs, which tax strategists are talking about intangible drilling costs and strategies at the end of the year. That's what I do on my drive home. I'm always seeing who's saying what, just keeping it fresh in my head, all different things. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there.
No, that's
I
great.
think that's really clever, because when one of the things that we have said throughout the show is taking into account different approaches to bettering yourself in business, right? And one of those things, as you're saying that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so genius. I never thought to listen to financial podcasts on my drive home just to get little tidbits of information, whether you want to listen to a Bible podcast or you want to listen to a financial podcast or you want to listen to the Jay Young show, whatever you want to do, you can do that and get little pieces of information that will help you along your journey, whether that's in business or your personal approach. So that's a really great piece of advice there, even though I didn't mean to give it, Rachel.
Yeah.
I mean, I got about a 45-minute drive, so I use it one way. So I'm like, I'm going to use it. I'm using this to
I don't blame
myself.
you. I don't blame you. Man. I mean, that's a long time, and that's to be in your car and just think about it. Well, you could listen to, hard rock, or you could listen to some music or something that would completely waste your time. But I know one thing, that if I would have done things different when I was younger, if I was in my 20s and 30s and I would have done some things different, I'd be worth billions of dollars today. Instead of wasting a lot of time, and instead of drinking, or instead of just spending time doing things that were just so unproductive, I wish my dad was just, I mean, he did the best he could based on how he was raised, but I just wish that, he would have just picked me up, kicked my ass, and told me, hey, dude, you are just not going in the right direction, and having a mentor. So I think it's one of the biggest things that I want to do is I want to help mentor younger people in saying, hey, you know what, in your 20s and 30s, don't waste time. It's like this guy. He knew anything and everything there was to know about the draft and about what was going on with the draft king and betting football and blah 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 blah. And I was just like, he knew everything there was to know about football, every person that played and stats. And I said, hey, how much money did you make last year? Doing that. And he goes, oh, I lost a lot of money betting on games. I'm like, see, dude, I don't know why you're wasting your time. What's entertainment? Yeah. Spend that same time doing something productive, and it'll be great. Me and my wife listened to John Maxwell on the well, I listened to it. I don't know how much my wife listened, but I was listening to John Maxwell and his leadership, because I was like, I got an audiobook. Oh, I got an audiobook, and it's 45-minute drive back to Dallas from Fort Worth last night. We went over to see Michaela, and I put on John Maxwell and listened to that. So I thought that was really, really fantastic. And it's always good to listen to something and learn something and talk about it, So I think that's great. So anyway, what else you want to talk about? Book.
Well, we have one last question here. Yeah, what book is everybody reading right now, Jay? What book?
Well, the only book I'm reading, and I just finished up, Bury Me in a Dirty Suit, which I found out what that meant. A guy that was with Secret Service. He was in World Trade Center Tower 7 when they had when 9/11 happened, and he went and helped everybody that he could in World Trade Center 1 and 2 as they came falling down during that tragedy. And I about halfway through the book, it said, I kept talking to people about, I'm reading a book called Bury Me in a Dirty Suit. And I'm like, I'm not sure what that means yet. But anyway, halfway through the book, he explains that there was some people that he saw that worked in the same Secret Service. And he saw them halfway through the day, and they had their shoes were still shined, and they were in complete suit. They hadn't done anything. Mm-hmm. They haven't done anything outside. And he said, man, I didn't have a shirt. He said, I had a T-shirt on, and he said, I was bloody. I was ashes all over. We all saw the story. And he said, you know what? We went back in and did some things again. And he said, I looked at them, and it's a very big Christian book talking about different Bible verses. But he says, you know what? He said, all I had to do was just think, okay, I got to quit thinking about them and them not wanting to help other people, and me just going in and helping other people. So I'll say that, which is Bury Me in a Dirty Suit. It's a great book. I love it. And also I'm reading Never Eat Alone. I'll talk more about that next week. I don't want to burn 2 books in the same week. I can't read more than 1 book a week, so I can't. So I got to save some of them. But this is about your favorite book. What is your favorite book, or what is a book that you're reading right now? Steve, what's a good favorite book that you've read, or besides the Bible?
Yeah, my one of the more impactful books that I've had in my life it's The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. I read that probably 20 years ago and have reread it several times, but it's just, it kind of helps me as far as staying focused, as far as how like I said, we get busy, we get focused on work, we get focused on family, but at the end of the day, God has a purpose for us, and that kind of goes with the hope. I mean, His purpose for us, even when things don't seem right, we know that we're on this earth for one thing, and it's for Him. And do I fall short of that? Absolutely. But again, it was a book that just always has helped me to stay. When things are stressful or whatever, it just kind of helps me pull back and say, don't get stressed, because God has a plan. It's going to work out. It may not work out the way we want to, I mean, it's still his plan. It's not our plan, but it does help me get through the days lots of times. So,
All right. Laura, about you? What's a good book?
Well, right now I am reading Poems and Prayers by the Matthew McConaughey.
Oh,
And, Texas boy, Matthew McConaughey. And one of the things that I read over the weekend when I was starting it is he talks about how he starts prayers. And I thought this was so great because so many times you'll get on your knees and you'll pray when you need something, or you pray when things aren't great. And it was funny. I read this weekend, and then my devotional this morning was basically on this. It was on praising God. And he says that he starts prayers with gratitude, thanking God for his blessings, thanking God for what he has, what he's given us, and not this is what I need. This is what, this is what you can help me with. So I thought that was, something amazing. He's got some pretty funny poems in there, but I look forward to reading all of it. I read Greenlight, which was his first book, and was really excited for this to come out. He's actually quite talented. You think he's a talented actor. He's very talented in telling a story in a unique way. So I recommend it.
yeah.
It's been great so far. So
Good. Well, shout out to Matthew McConaughey and his book, Poems and Riddles. What is it?
Poems and Prayers.
Poems and
by
Prayers.
Matthew McConaughey.
Poems and Prayers. That's great.
Yes.
I need to pick that up. Rachel, what about you? Anything?
Reading wise, which I always say I do a lot of audiobooks. So, but I still get to say I read them.
What's a good audiobook?
Is Be Useful by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Wow.
It's a good book. Talks a lot about his life, but he goes through hard work, dedication, not thinking small. A lot of it has his life story built into that, which is really cool. And I like with downtime sometimes to listen to motivational things, and especially stories of people's lives that are really powerful, and talk about hard work, talk about, being outside the box, doing something different, taking chances, all those great things. So, and I did start, I think I'm on 4 or 5 of America's Team.
Oh, wow.
Really,
there you go.
Really interesting.
There you go. What
really
are you watching? That's America's Team. I know. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Good. Well, Jordan, what about you? What's a favorite book? You can talk about a favorite book or one that you're reading now, or
Yeah, one that I'm reading right now is called Winning by Jack Welch. It just talks about his time at GE, I believe it was, and how his approach was, and it was really cutthroat. But I'm wanting to sharpen some business skills, and one of the key things that he also talks about is like having candor and having the tough conversations and getting through conflict so you can have a more firm team and getting through those things. So I don't know. It's a really good leadership and business book, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's a pretty easy read.
Good. I like the audiobooks too. That's either one. I know John Maxwell last night, he said, you know what? He said, I had a guy that I hired. I went to a new church, and he said, I brought him in, and he said, the first conversation I had with him is, I don't know if we're going to be able to work together or not, because I hear you are, you're negative, or you're just not a very positive person, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And he said it was from the very beginning. And he said, if this isn't going to work out, he said, I want you to know that I will help you, find a job or whatever. And he said, I stopped talking, and I didn't know what kind of reaction I was going to get. I don't know if the guy was looking for a gun or looking for, something to hit me or what. I didn't know, but he said he put his head down, and he said then he brought his head up, and he had tears in his eyes, and he said, hey, look, I'm here for you. I'm here for the company. I'm here to do the best thing for the church and the people. And he said it just all of a sudden, we would never think to do that. We'd think, okay, well, we'll talk about that, or we'll get around to it or whatever. I don't like beating around the bush, but it's just good to talk about it up front. Let's get it out there.
Yeah.
You know, man, let's just go ahead and
absolutely.
get it out
The best way out is through. So best way to, have those have the tough conversations. Don't shy away. The anticipation is going to hurt more than the moment. Just have the conversation, and everyone will be better for it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Jordan, I think this has been an incredible podcast, but this is
at the Fabulous Five.
Isn't it great? I mean, the episode 186, I think, or something. I mean, man, this is ideal, in my opinion. We had Steve. Thank you very much for coming on, Laura, Rachel. I mean, Jordan, obviously, but I think this has been really great because I love hearing your perspective. I thinking about the Bible, thinking about what book you're reading, or the Word of the Week, or just anything has been really good. So, man, I'm excited for us. Thank you, everybody, for doing this. And next week, I'm not sure who we're going to have on. I've got a long list of people that I've talked to, with Anthony Scaramucci or Nancy Lieberman, John Malden, Bob Odine. But we're going to have somebody else on next week, and it's going to be incredible. So thank you very much, everybody. Signing off this week, but we'll be back with you again next week. Thank you very much.